In the previous video, we have seen that how to shift the graph of a function to 4 directions: up, right, down, and left. And we have talked about what kind of change that we have to make to the equation so that we can make the graph go to the direction that we want, right? This time, we are given the graph of the function log base 2 of x, and I have showed you guys how to make the graph of this in the previous video, so you can check out the video in the description. So, what I want you guys to do is, you see we have these 4 equations here. Why don't you guys try to graph this by using the shiftment idea that we've mentioned it in the previous video. Do not make a table. And pause the video now, give it a try. Alright, let's talk about the first one. We have y is equal to log base 2 of x plus 3. So what will happen to this? You see we have at plus 3. This is, we're adding the 3 directly toward the x. So what should we do with the graph of the original? Well, when you add a number directly toward the x, right, you see it's inside of the parentheses, this is telling us we have to move to the left. How many times? Well, 3 times. That's all, right? And let me indicate the important information from the original first, before I make the graph right here. For the log graph, we have a vertical asymptote, and this is just the original, so we have the vertical asymptote at x is equal to 0. That's the vertical asymptote, right? And then we also see that we have this curve right here, and it crosses the x-axis at 1, 0. So I'm going to shift these 2 things, okay, along the way with us. First, let me shift the vertical asymptote. We have to shift this to the left 3 times, and you see this is going to be the graph for part A, okay? So let me just do that right here. 3 times toward the left, so that means we'll be at -3, and we just have to draw the vertical dash line right here. And then we also take this, shift it to the left 3 times, so we have 1, 2, 3, we have -2, which is this point here, right? And of course we can just graph it, right? Just sketch the graph like this. Okay, so this is how the graph of log base 2 of x plus 3 will look like. You can write down the equation again here, but doesn't really matter. Anyways, let's look at the next one. We have log base 2 of x minus 1. This minus 1 is after the log function, right? It's after the parentheses. So what does this do? Well, we have to take the original graph and then bring it down 1 time. So this is down 1 time. Alright, so you see, I will keep the vertical asymptote because we are not moving left, we are not moving right. So the vertical asymptote, it will be just, stays at x equal to 0. So let me just indicate that right here. And this is the answer for part B. Okay, this equation right here. And I'm going to shift this point 1, 0 down 1 unit, which will be right here, isn't it? And we will just make the graph. So we still have the vertical asymptote past this point and then go up like this. Okay? You don't necessarily have to draw the little arrows at the end, but I like to do that. Anyways, next one, we have log base 2 of x, close parentheses already, and then we add 2 to it. So the plus 2 is afterward. What does this plus 2 do? Well, this is telling us we have to shift the graph up 2 times. Okay? So I will use this little graph paper, and that will be the answer for part C. Just going up, so we don't take the vertical asymptote left or right. So we just keep it as what it is. So still at the y-axis. And then this point is going to go up 2 times as well. So we will have 1, 2. So that will be right here, 1, 2. And we make the graph. Keep in mind we have to pass this point, and then we have the vertical asymptote. So we must have a graph that looks like this. Okay? And at the end, you can guess it, this right here has to go to the right, right? Here we have x minus 1 instead of the logarithm. We have the minus 1 directly toward the x. This, when you see the minus 1, you have to remember it's actually going toward the right. We have to move the graph to the right one time. Okay, move the graph to the right 1 unit. So we actually have to move the vertical asymptote this time. Originally was at 0. I have to move this to the right 1 time. So I will have the vertical asymptote right here now. And this is going to be the answer for part D. And we also have to move this point to the right 1 time. So we will have 2, 0 for this graph here. And we'll just have the vertical asymptote and then pass this point and then graph it. This is the graph for log base 2 of x minus 1. And you see, we are done. We don't need to make a table for these equations. We just have to remember on how to shift the graph based on the things that we talked about in the previous video. Okay, and then check out the next video. We'll talk about how to flip, and then we will also have videos on how to combine these shifts.